popular U.S. destinations with guaranteed placement. My name is Rachel Dorfman-Tanlick. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm the Director of Enrollment Management here at ISEP, and I will let my colleague Jennifer introduce herself.
Hi everybody, I'm Jennifer Gay. I'm the Director of Member Relations for the United States West. So I'll be talking with you about a few of our schools in the West for folks to learn more about. And before my time with ISEP, I was at a university that was an ISEP member. So I served as an ISEP coordinator on a university campus for over 10 years and was on the ISEP Council of Advisors in that role. And so I got to know ISEP as a university, much like yourselves, prior to coming to work with ISEP. Looking forward to visiting with you all today.
Great. So before we get started, we wanted to talk a little bit about what is ISEP Direct. So ISEP Direct is a fee-paying program with a guaranteed placement. So many of you are familiar with ISEP Exchange, and with ISEP Exchange, students create a list of several host sites where they'd be willing to study, and they could be placed at any of those sites, including some of the sites lower down on their list. Where ISEP Direct is different is that students only need to select one site and they're guaranteed a placement at their top site. With Exchange, students pay their home university tuition and housing, and with ISEP Direct, the fees are billed by ISEP. So a student can pay ISEP directly, or they can pay your institution, and your institution can pay ISEP. Students who attend programs on ISEP Direct have all of the same campus and community opportunities that they have with our exchange programs. The visa process is a tiny bit different. Students who come to the United States with ISEP Direct get an F1 visa that's hosted by the institution, as opposed to a J1 visa that's hosted by ISEP. One other important difference is that our direct programs are typically more flexible and they have later application deadlines. So the benefits of ISEP Direct, really the main one is that students get to choose a specific location. So definitely if they're interested in a location that has a low chance of placement or is a very popular location, and they want to be certain that they'll be able to study at that site, ISEP Direct is a great option. It's also great for universities that have exchange nomination limits. If you have a student who was not able to receive an exchange nomination and is still really interested in studying abroad for that term, ISEP Direct is a great alternative. It's great for students who have a field of study that has really strict course requirements, and they need to be certain that they're going to get one very specific thing. It's great for students who need more flexible housing and meals, particularly our non-traditional students, students with children, or students with some sort of specific need that would require housing or meal flexibility. So today we're going to talk about our ISEP Direct opportunities within the United States, but I do want to note that we have over 60 direct programs throughout the world, and our advisors will be happy to talk to your students about any of our direct opportunities, not just those in the United States. The application process with ISEP Direct is a bit simpler and more straightforward. As I mentioned before, when students apply with ISEP Direct, they only have to select one direct institution. They do not have to make a list of multiple institutions. With our direct programs, there's no academic reference needed, so it's a bit faster to apply. They don't have to find a professor to write them a letter of reference. We have later application deadlines in almost all cases. And as I mentioned before, students are guaranteed placement if they meet the minimum enrollment requirements. And they can check that right on the eligibility section of their application. So they'll be able to know before they even submit that application if they meet the eligibility requirements. With ISEP Direct, the placement fee that a student pays, it goes directly toward the cost of the program. So it's kind of a deposit, if you will. But other than that, almost everything is the same. Students go through the same course list process to select their classes. They sign an acceptance package at the end. Everything else is pretty similar. So today we're going to talk about some of our top direct destinations in the United States. And I'll turn it over to Jennifer.
All right, so we actually have 5 destinations in the United States that are available to your students on ISEP Direct. We're going to just feature 3 of our top destinations in depth today because of their popularity and what they offer your students. So those 3, 2 of them are in California, one of them is in the New York City vicinity. The 2 in California, San Jose State University is in Northern California. California State University San Marcos is in Southern California. And then St. Peter's University is in New Jersey, but a very short commute to the New York City metro area. With all 3 universities, this is at a glance what their deadlines for applications are, their eligibility criteria, and a few things about their programs. Each of those universities have a fairly standard for the US semester start date for the US spring semester, semester 2, in mid-January. Each of them have a mid-October deadline for the application. And they also have a fairly standard minimum GPA equivalent to the US requirement. What they have some difference in is what the English language proficiency requirement is. So you'll see that St. Peter's University, the one in near New York City, is a much higher English language proficiency at a 79 for TOEFL or a 6.5 for IELTS. The 2 in California have a 61 for TOEFL, and at California State San Marcos, they actually have an English language intensive option for students. For both St. Peter's University, the New York vicinity school, and then the Southern California, California State University San Marcos, those 2 also offer graduate options for students. So all 3 have undergraduate options, but California State University San Marcos and St. Peter's University have some graduate options for students. So on to a bit more detail about California State University San Marcos, CSU San Marcos as we call it. They have been an ISEP member for quite a long time, and they were our first US direct program because of their popularity and their suitability for international students. It's a very forward-focused institution. They really have a lot of innovative programming, and they're located in a beautiful hillside that overlooks the city of San Marcos, which is quite close to San Diego, California. It's a good size institution. It's not too big, not too small, at 13,000 students. The location cannot be beat. It sells itself to students. That is why we opened it up on direct, because it is so popular on exchange. It's just quite challenging for us to have enough exchange spots to meet the demand. So for direct, there's a guaranteed placement as long as students meet that eligibility criteria. It's 20 minutes from the beach, about a half hour from downtown San Diego. It's not too far from Los Angeles, and it has, for those of you that have not visited San Diego, the San Diego area, a very ideal climate year-round. And so again, the location really sells itself to students, but the institution itself is really quite extraordinary. A bit more into the details related to how it could be accessible for your students. For undergraduate programming, we've just listed, there are dozens of different academic options that are available to students at the undergraduate level. We've just highlighted a few of the more popular ones where you can have your students select a full course load in biology, communications, computer science, global studies, visual performing arts. And then at the graduate level, there's a full course load offering for business coursework. You can see the semester costs both at the undergraduate and graduate level, and you can also see the semester costs for housing and meals. So for on-site support, CSU San Marcos, based on its size, has quite a lot that they do for their international students. They have tutoring services that are subject-based, but they also do have a lot of language and writing support for students. As I mentioned earlier, they do have an American language or an English language center for international students, and we have a great relationship with them. And there's a lot of support for students that are English language learners. They have quite a lot of support for students that are interested in getting more engaged and involved, what we call service learning opportunities. They also have quite a bit of support for students for mental health, different mobility, hearing, visual, speech, and learning disabilities. And then they have some very dynamic co-curricular programs, intramural club sports. And again, because of the climate, there's quite an active culture there. So the students will have plenty of opportunities to get involved and engaged. They also have put a lot of emphasis in developing long-lasting relationships with their students. And so that school, their motto or their slogan is, not their motto, but their mascot is a cougar. And so they have cougar alumni events all over the world. And your students would essentially be joining in as alumni once they were enrolled as students. So moving on to San Jose State University, this is in Northern California. There are 145 areas of study that are available to students at the undergraduate level. This is our direct school in the US that only right now is offering undergraduate options, although they are in communication with us about also opening up some graduate programs. So we'll see in the future about that. They have great small classes that are a priority, and they are obviously based in the Silicon Valley, a top 200 research university in the nation. The location, just 1 hour from San Francisco, 45 minutes from the beaches of Santa Cruz. And again, based in the Silicon Valley, it is one of the most innovative regions in the world. So it's it's always a very popular destination for students that are really interested in getting more involved in some professional opportunities. The academics and cost, because they have undergraduate options, and there are so many, over 100 different academic disciplines. We've just highlighted again some of those that are the more popular ones for international students. Business, communication, engineering. You can see some of the options within those main disciplines. And you can see that the tuition costs at the bottom of this slide for tuition, and then the housing and meals located in the Silicon Valley. The housing and meals are going to be more expensive than in other locations. So they also have quite a lot of on-site support, similar to CSU San Marcos in Southern California. They have a lot of co-curricular programming, writing and employment workshops. They also do a lot of student guest speaker series and a lot of different activities to highlight all of the different, the international diversity that the university and the region boasts. So there's no shortage of opportunities for students to get involved and to take some leadership and leadership roles within the community.
Great, thanks, Jennifer. So now we're going to talk about St. Peter's, which is just outside New York City. St. Peter's is a Jesuit institution, and Jesuit schools are known for their commitment to social justice. So this is really great if you have students who are very committed to issues of social justice. St. Peter's has a really diverse community of learners. They have graduate programs, professional programs, and also a multitude of undergraduate programs. It's a pretty small institution with just over 3,000 students, and because of that, they're also able to have really fantastic faculty to student ratio of just 12:1. They also have one of the most successful internship programs in the nation. And as you'll see, they're incredibly close to New York City, so I think that really facilitates a lot of internship access. So yes, St. Peter's is just under half an hour from downtown Manhattan via public transportation, so access to everything. St. Peter's, while it is incredibly close to New York City, is located in Jersey City. So there are 25 acres in the heart of Jersey City, so beautiful campus setting. Some people from New Jersey would say that they have better pizza. I'm a New Yorker. I personally believe the New York pizza is a lot better, but your students can try and judge for themselves. One thing that's fantastic about this campus is they have views of the Statue of Liberty. People pay millions of dollars to have a New York apartment with views of the Statue of Liberty, so it's really a beautiful bonus. As I mentioned, students are really close on campus to the PATH station with connections to New York City. So lots of easy public transportation. And then they have all that New York City has to offer right at their fingertips. They have Broadway shows, they can walk through Central Park, they have millions of restaurants, bookstores, concerts. Really, there's nothing that can't be done in New York City. So, in terms of academics, St. Peter's has over 50 academic programs. So we've highlighted a few of them here on the undergraduate and graduate side. We've also listed here our tuition, insurance, and fees. One thing that's a little bit different with St. Peter's is the housing and meals are paid directly to St. Peter's, and we've listed the ranges there. In terms of on-site support, as a Jesuit institution, St. Peter's follows the motto of Cura Personalis, which is care for the whole person. So they really try to view student support from a very holistic perspective and really paying attention to caring for every single component of a student. And this can also be seen in their very small faculty to student ratio. So lots of individualized attention. They're also really career focused. As I mentioned, they have very strong internship programs and very strong internship support. They have over 50 student organizations. They also have a really sleek student center that features study space, game rooms, and on-site gym. They are open to all religions, but as a Jesuit school, they also have a very active campus ministry. So if you have students who are very eager to be involved in religion, this might be a great place for them as well. Jennifer, I think you got it.
These are the additional sites that we offer students in the United States. So just at a glance, you can see that these also are specific to some different needs that your students might come to you with. If they're not looking for a big semester-based experience on either coast of the United States, well, these are also both on coasts of the United States, but the North Carolina Charlotte program is a short-term program in July, and it's specifically for social media for business and digital marketing. So it's offered in English, but it's a short-term program. And then Western Carolina University does have semester-based offerings at a very affordable and attractive price. It's in a beautiful region, a lot of countryside for students to explore, and you'll see that the prices are right for some students that are really looking to have an experience in the United States without the huge price tag that is associated with some of the more popular programs.
I also want to mention some opportunities that we have through our full-time internship program. These internships are hosted with our partner, Global Experiences. We offer a summer internship program in Washington, D.C. It's an 8-week summer program. The housing for this program is located in Foggy Bottom. I worked in that neighborhood for about a decade, and I can tell you it's a fantastic place to live, especially as a young person. It's really great for students who are interested in politics, being Washington, D.C., but also nonprofit management, marketing, communications, and law. We also have a full-time internship program in New York City. This is available in the summer, but also during the academic year. In the summer, it's an 8-week program. During the academic terms, it is a 12-week program. And students can gain up to 9 credits for this. It's located in central Manhattan, and it's great for almost any career field that you can imagine. These programs are currently on hold, but they are expected to resume in 2021. So we wanted to make sure you're aware of these as well. Also wanted to make sure that you're aware of some of the marketing resources that our fantastic marketing and communications team has put together for you. At the end of this presentation, we will send out a flyer on our ISEP Direct programs within the United States. You'll also get a copy of this recording, and we encourage you to use these and distribute to your students and faculty on your campus, and anyone else who you think may be interested. With that, we're going to take some questions. Does anyone have any questions? You can feel free to unmute yourself if you have questions, or also type them into the chat.
I had to bob out for a minute there. It's Deigo Darling, or Candida Darling, from University of Chester. I was quite excited about the postgraduate study because I get asked about that a lot.
Yeah.
And how much it costs, and also, is it degree bearing, or is it literally part of your master's degree but abroad, if that makes sense?
Yes, so this is a really new endeavor for us. Our cost agreements for the programs are just in the final stages, so we don't have the cost for, I think, the San Jose State University, which I haven't even highlighted yet, set up, or for St. Peter's University. But with Cal State San Marcos, the costs for that business graduate program, let me just pull that back up. The graduate tuition is $7,950 for a semester program, and that's compared to $7,550 for the undergraduate. So it's not a huge jump. And I can say that that's going to be similar with St. Peter's University, that the graduate is a slightly higher price than the undergraduate, but it's not, it's in the same ballpark, if you will.
And that's for a semester, right?
That's for the semester. That's
so
correct.
How many credits would that be on a master's?
For the master's, that's 6 credits.
6 US credits. Yeah, we'd have to do a conversion on that. Brilliant. That's very interesting, because in the UK now, students can take out master's loans, which they never were able to do. So in the past, you used to have to either self-fund or be scholarship by an institution. So this is out of reach for most students, but you now can apply for a master's loan and take that where you like. So, you know, translating that back into the UK, it'd be a question of how they'd APL that into their degrees. Have you got many UK students doing that at the moment?
We have, because this is relatively new with ISEP, we know that there are several UK students that are doing that at these universities. And so we're hoping that it's going to be a really good fit to have them go through ISEP with this. So we can talk, what I can do is I can visit with you offline, and I can get you more information about what might be most attractive for your students. And we can put it all together in sort of an advising chart for you.
That'd be great, Jennifer. I'd really, really appreciate that. Sorry to dominate everybody. I just, you know, I'm excited.
Not at all. I'm sure there's probably other folks that are interested as well. So
I think particularly with all the repatriated, they're saying, well, you know, what else can I do? And I'm like, not a lot actually. Because of masters being not sort of that transferable, but if you could help me get that in motion, that would be useful.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Looks like Della has a question.
Yeah, I have a question about the housing and housing costs. So a couple of the places that are mentioned have are pretty high cost of living. Are any of the places that you've highlighted, do they require students live on campus, or could students find their own housing?
For the undergraduate programs at both San Jose State University, so both the California institutions, San Jose State University and CSU San Marcos, students can, there are a variety of options. At CSU San Marcos, there's even a homestay option or on campus. Students are not required. That's one of the attractive aspects of direct compared, for those of you that are familiar with our exchange program, that's a package enrollment that housing and meals are required. With direct, students can opt out and find their own housing. With St. Peter's, that's something where they do prefer that students use their housing, and so they're not even working that through us. They're just having the students work directly with them. We can explore that possibility for students to live elsewhere. Right now, they're saying that students are required to live on their campus housing, which is a better price than you'll find in some other locations near there. But again, that's probably something that we could pursue if you have some students where they already had something else worked out.
Yeah, what happens with my students, because you know it's Mexico and the United States, is they'll often bring up, well, my uncle lives here, or my father lives here, or my, you know, they have people, and so that's something that they'll often want to explore that option. It's often also not viable once they look at what transportation, especially public transportation in the US, looks like. So I've had students explore the San Marcos option because they've said, my uncles live in San Diego, and then they look at what that looks like on a day-to-day basis. Like, I'll pull up Google Maps for them.
Yeah.
And then they realize it's not really a good option for them.
Right.
But it does come up, so I just wanted to know what that would look like on your end. Thanks.
Yeah, that is one of the things, one of the beauties of direct is it does give students more flexibility to at least pursue those possibilities. We don't have to say no right away, and we can then see whether or not there's someplace close enough that makes it viable for them.
Thanks, Stella. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you everybody for joining us. This is a great conversation. We appreciate all of your questions. If you have any other questions, please feel free to email Jennifer or myself. We're always available to answer any other questions you may have. And I think this webinar will be emailed out to you along with the marketing resources probably by the end of the week. So thank you all for joining us.